Alright, so, it is now time for the final Epic of Remnant Pseudo-Singularity. This is the last thing that I have not read when it comes to Fate Go content. I've been waiting for it to come out, so I'm going in blind story-wise. The Forbidden Advent Garden, Salem. Oh, I should probably make that Santa disappear, huh? Oop, there we go. Not bad at all. In fact, I dare say it came out rather well.
Good morning, Sanson. Having a late breakfast? Oh, what a wonderful smell. Is that a crepe?
Good morning, Mash. No, this is Butt-Week Gillette. I heard we'd procured some lovely ham and found myself hooked after spending some time with the chef.
I see, so you're using ham, cheese, and a soft-boiled egg, and... is that zucchini? It looks delicious.
Thank you. I often had Gillettes just like this when I was growing up in Paris. They were originally a peasant dish from the Brittany region. It's even said they were served at the palace of King Louis XIV's mother, Anne of Austria. Ideally, I would have liked to pair it with hard cider, but...
Oh, right, exactly. You couldn't do that because we've run out, right? Apparently, someone broke into the kitchen and stole most of our alcohol.
You mean we can't get drunk and crunk? Damn. Really? Was it a thief?
I think so, since a number of rooms also experienced inexplicable blackouts around the same time. And that's why I'm on the case right now. Holmes has been preoccupied with something in the hangar lately, so it's up to me to be the detective this time.
I see. Well, in that case, I'll gladly offer my assistance. Ever since the search for the 7 Holy Grails came to an end, what has brought me the greatest joy is the drastic improvements made to Chaldea's pantry. It's thanks to them that servants like us can enjoy seasonal delicacies and flavors from around the world. I'm so grateful to be able to experience so many wonderful tastes, but I'm ashamed to learn that there's a thief amongst us here in Chaldea.
Me too.
Okay, we have hired murderers and villains and pirates. Of course there's a thief amongst us in Chaldea somewhere. That's ignorant to not expect someone to be willing to steal some alcohol.
Since Chaldea is just still responsible for preserving humanity, managing our food stockpiles is important.
Well said. My head. I feel sick.
Good morning, Robin. You seem a bit under the weather.
Oh, morning, Mash. Don't mind me.
Ugh. I can smell the alcohol from here. Robin?
He's clearly hungover. He must have drunk an immense amount to be this affected despite being a servant. Fortunately, this works out well. Here, Robin, drink up this onion soup. It'll get you hydrated and replenish some of the salt that you lost. If that doesn't cure your hangover, drink a glass of water with some baking soda to reduce the acidity in your stomach. Or if you want to be a real man's man, get yourself some raw eggs and a bunch of spices. Oh, no thanks. I'm not drinking that. I smelled rotting animals that weren't so rank. There aren't even any medicinal herbs in it. I mean, it's not like you're a witch or an alchemist or... my head...
I knew it. You're still in bad shape. What help could you be if there was an emergency right now? Won't you please consider taking Sanson's advice and having the soup? Also, I'd appreciate if you could tell me what happened last night. And please, don't skimp on the details.
Mash wants that juicy gossip. Last night? Okay, if that's what you want. I couldn't care less what Dr. Frenchie says, but I can't say no to you. Still, there's not that much to tell. I just kinda ended up getting roped into a little drinking party the authors were having. Sometimes it's nice to just cut loose and drink like there's no tomorrow. Consequences be damned, you know? Anyway, the last thing I remember is Amadeus crashing the party and drinking the rest of the booze. After that, it's all a blank. Ah, Amadeus, I swear. That man's a bottomless pit where alcohol is concerned. He always shows up unannounced at parties, drains the wine cellar as if it were his own, and doesn't even pay a single écu to boot. I don't know how you pronounce that. I don't speak French. Robin, were you perhaps sent to raid the kitchen last night as an errand boy of sorts? Now that you mention it, I think something like that might have actually happened.
I see. I'm glad that I'm making progress. I knew I could resolve a small case like this without asking Holmes for help. At any rate, it seems clear that you were all getting plastered on Claudia's reserves.
Indeed. What a sorry sight. Yeah, not all of us were brought up with the luxury of using proper knives and forks for our dainty little breakfasts, unlike some nobles I know. I am not a noble. Oh, is that so? Well, maybe you're not, but you aren't exactly one of us commoners either, are you? Oh, got him there.
What's going on with Robin? Does he have some sort of problem with Sanson?
An alarm? What does that tablet of yours say, Mash?
Let me see. This is a Type 3 alert. An abnormality has been spotted somewhere far away. I'll head for the command room.
Could we turn it down? This sound is the last thing I needed with this headache.
Robin, you need to take care of your hangover before you do anything else.
Agreed. Once you do that, I'll take you to see the chef. Got it. Take care, Mash. Don't push yourself too hard now. Looks like things have finally calmed down. Well, I guess they got a handle on the situation now. Oh well, it ain't any of my business. I'm A-okay steering clear of the limelight. All those hot-blooded hero types can handle demon schemes and threats to humanity just fine without me. This soup really does hit the spot.
I'm here. What's the situation?
You're looking fluffy, Mash.
Huh? Did you say fluffy? I'm afraid I don't know what you mean by that, but thank you, Senpai. In fact, you're looking kind of fluffy yourself, too. Like here, where you've still got some bedhead. All right, you two. It's too early in the morning for flirting, and the command room isn't the place. That's better. Now then, here's all the information we've got so far. You can fix your bedhead while you listen. So first of all, we know that the alarm originated in North America. We're detecting an incredible magical energy signature, but the threat level is fairly low, at least for now. At the moment, we're sending in a fleet of investigative drones to collect more intel and communicating with the local authorities. We're also coordinating with the North American branch of the Mages Association since Claudius didn't observe this phenomenon. However, there aren't many association agents in North America, so I doubt they'll be of much help.
Where exactly in North America is this coming from?
If you'll direct your attention to the screen, right here. This image was taken by one of our stationary satellites. The United States East Coast, specifically an area north of Boston, Massachusetts. Come to think of it, it's still the middle of the night over there, isn't it? Even so, it's so dark I don't see a hint of light anywhere. It looks more like a crater than anything. That's right, it's pitch black, complete and total darkness. We can't detect as much of a hint of artificial light within a perfectly circular 7-kilometer radius. This is no blackout or freak weather. Magecraft is the only explanation for something like this. Naturally, since it's covered in such total darkness, we don't have any other visual data.
Do we know what's in the middle of this darkness?
As I recall, there was a port town here at this inlet. I think its name was...
Salem. It is a cursed name, both for the white man and for us.
Geronimo.
My presence was requested, and so I have come. Are you sure I can be of use, Da Vinci? My tribe knows little of the sea, after all.
I'm sure, Geronimo. In fact, you're the perfect warrior for the job. The proud members of your tribe have been attuned to that land's voice since the ancient times, so we could really use your wisdom right now.
I see. So the situation has become so dire that you're making a formal request for my help. Very well. I will be of assistance however I can.
What about the people inside of the darkness? Are they all right? At the moment, we have no way of knowing. So far, the U.S. Army's reconnaissance drones haven't picked up any sign of the local populace, or even any radio transmissions. Simply put, 50,000 people who just finished their perfectly ordinary day have inexplicably disappeared. I can only imagine what the White House advisors are going through right now in the run-up to the inevitable press conference. That's terrible.
Could it be a demon god pillar?
You mean one of the demon god pillars that escaped Geisha when Geisha was destroyed? That's right, Gouda. This is almost certainly the work of a demon god pillar. That said, the extent to which it seems not to even be making an effort to conceal this insidious nature of this anomaly concerns me. In the other abnormalities we've dealt with over the past several months, like Shinjuku and Agartha, the culprits tried to keep their identities a secret. On top of that, both of those singularities occurred in the past. Hell, in Agartha's case, it was so thoroughly hidden that it was literally miles under the ground. But that's not the case here. It's taking place right now, and it's so obvious that even the US government knows about it. Neither of the other demon god pillars attempted anything like this, and that's truly worrying. Still, at least this singularity is on a much smaller scale. It reminds me of Fuyuki and how it's only covering a single town.
Smaller scale, only in comparison with what we have seen so far, you mean? But even now, I can see this tragedy unfolding before my eyes. I pray that the dawning sun will chase away the curtain of darkness that has befallen this land. So, what will we do now, Da Vinci? And you, my friend?
Well, we have to go to Salem right now, then.
Right, Senpai.
I am afraid I disagree. The time is not yet right.
But there are people in clear and present danger. 50,000 of them, no less.
We do not know for sure that this is not a trap. It's possible that we may end up being glad that only tens of thousands of people lost their lives there. We are still very much in the dark ourselves. All we know for certain is what Da Vinci said. Never before have we seen such a bold approach as this. I sense that the demon god lying in wait in this darkness is more cautious and villainous than any we have yet faced. Da Vinci, have there been any updates in this investigation? Any further details come to light?
Yes, there have been a few more updates, but I wouldn't get your hopes up. When the darkness first appeared, it quickly expanded to its current radius in just a few seconds before its progress suddenly stopped. Since then, it's remained completely static, at least from the outside. Mages from the Association have sent in familiars, but we've lost contact with each and every one of them. Land, sea, low-flying air, no matter how the familiars attempted to infiltrate the darkness, not a single one of them is reported back. On top of that, the directors of Boston's Holy Church haven't been quiet about this either. This unidentified phenomenon precludes the use of spiritual evocations, sacrifices, runes, summoning circles, and anti-fortress and anti-army noble phantasms in the areas surrounding Salem. These areas include parts of Beverly, Peabody, Danvers, Marblehead, Swampscott, and Lynn. We regretfully report that we have not discovered any evidence of magical involvement, nor can we completely rule it out in regards to the situation. All that means is this phenomenon has taken the church completely by surprise. So it's safe to conclude that none of the persons of interest they've been keeping an eye on have gone near Salem either. You can tell this was a real bitter pill for them to swallow, especially given how proud they are. It's a bit of a surprise for them to throw up their hands in bafflement like this. Though that's not to say they're at a loss for words. One of them has gone on to add, "Were I to venture my personal opinion, I might say that it seems as if the very hand of God himself has laid waste to the earth." Can you believe that? It sure doesn't sound like something a man of the cloth should go around saying, if you ask me.
Well, it would appear to be a different god than the one their faith sees as the one true god.
I've heard rumors about Chaldea staff being stationed around the world for some time now, but I had no idea they were also working at Mages Association branches in the Holy Church. Of course they are! They're covert agents we've planted on site to blend into their respective areas. The Chaldea Security Organization hasn't just been sitting around twiddling its thumbs waiting for these stray demon gods to reappear, you know. These agents are just a part of our overall effort, though I have to admit that it wasn't easy finding people with no familial or community ties to get to come work for us. Roman always excelled at hiring the right kind of people. He did leave behind a manual detailing his procedures, but it's just not the same. Still, it definitely helped. Once I knew where to look, it was just a matter of balancing the budget. I recruited mages, demonology experts, and exorcists and stationed them in cities of interest. And Boston just so happened to be one of them. The other North American agents should all be gathered there by now. At this point, we're still just running recon. Since we're not on site ourselves, the best thing that we can do right now is gather as much information as we can and figure out our next move.
So we wait for news from people we trust.
That's right. At times like this, there's nothing wrong with depending on others for help. You've really grown, Gouda. Trying to handle everything yourself is the height of arrogance and can lead you to terrible mistakes. And in the end, you're left with nothing but grief. I'm relieved to see that self-sacrifice isn't your answer to everything anymore.
That's right, I've learned to sacrifice others. Salutes at the thought of Arash using Stella all the time.
Still, isn't there anything that we can do? Of course, plenty in fact. Now that the alert level has been raised, we're getting reports from all over the world. Somebody has to determine if they're authentic and whether they're related to what's happening in Salem. I'd like you to handle that, Mash. Understood. Now, I think it's about time we pulled in a certain great detective to help us out. His work in the hangar should probably have gotten boring to him by now, and as long as he's not high off his balls on opium, he'll probably be in his room or just wandering around Caldia.
I added the opium bit, 'cause Holmes fucking loves drugs.
Gouda, would you mind speaking with Holmes yourself? Of course, I doubt you'll have much luck when he barely even pays attention to what Watson has to say. I see. Don't worry, we'll handle that too. I'll drag him in here by force if I have to, just like Mrs. Hudson. Besides, Da Vinci, have you been cooped up in here since last night? Ah, you noticed, did you? You're right. I wasn't actually in the middle of testing a certain summon when the alarm's sounding. Just between us, the timing couldn't have been worse. Even geniuses like me can make mistakes. For a moment, I was afraid I might unwittingly cause a second huge Caldi explosion.
That's not funny. Come on now.
Well, you can't blame me. Not after Caldia's main power and backup power looked like they were about to get knocked out. I see. Another piece of the puzzle in my investigation falls into place. Wait, back up. That sounds really important. Thanks in advance for all your help, Mash. You too, Geronimo. As for you, Gouda, I want you to be ready for anything, like a good master. I agree, Senpai. Please, allow us to handle this for now. I may no longer be able to fight on the front lines, but in return, I'll do everything I can to support you from back here. And that's the sort of Kohai I aspire to be.
Who is this mysterious cloaked person?
Heh. Ha.
Ha ha ha. Who's that Pokemon? It's Jigglypuff, as seen from above.
Thanks for waiting, everyone. We're nearly ready to begin this operation now. What's more, this will almost certainly end up being the final ray shift. The final ray shift? What's more, we've almost finished writing the first Lost Belt.
Why's that?
Because we now know that this is the very last Demon God Pillar, the last singularity to be observed on Earth.
That's a lie.
We may not have been able to determine where the Demon God Pillars that escaped from the Temple of Time had hidden themselves, but we were able to find the distortions in space-time they created wherever they went. Not that we could have done that without Caldius, of course, and it's those readings that are telling us this will be the last.
It's not the last Demon God Pillar at all.
The Mages Association and the UN have jointly decided to halt all ray shift operations following the pseudo-Spiritron transfer. After this, barring authorization from the new director being appointed in December, we won't be able to ray shift anymore no matter what. That's disappointing, but it does make sense. We shouldn't be ray shifting after humanity is stabilized anyway, since it does involve time travel. Exactly. Which is why the ray shift technology will be sealed away once we've dealt with this final instability. It's now been 72 hours since this large-scale disappearance occurred on the east coast of North America, with Salem at its center. Let me start by telling you what we've learned directly from our own investigation and information gathering. First off, we've decided to call the darkness that sprang up out of nowhere to cover all of Salem the Mist. Given how it absorbs all visible light and other forms of electromagnetic waves and doesn't obey any laws of physics, we are certain it's an instance of magecraft. Its scale remains unchanged since it first appeared. As I mentioned earlier, it's a near-perfect circle with a radius of 7 kilometers. We also now know that the mist extends upwards to an average altitude of 600 meters. It's easy to enter this area, but so far nothing that has done so has made it back out. Every one of the unmanned vehicles, unmanned surveillance units, drones, and closed-circuit robots sent in by the US Army has been swallowed up by the darkness. Either that, or they simply ceased functioning the moment that they got too close.
They have also tried using helicopters. I'm told they're called Apaches, to lower in sensors, but all of those ended up being destroyed as well.
So not even a single drone made it back.
I had to point out that they were called Apaches because I am a Native American.
I'm afraid not. Each and every one ended up broken and inoperable. A number of journalists snuck past the Army's blockade and went into the mist themselves, but...
There is no sign that any of them have returned. The same is true of the trained animals that were sent in for reconnaissance. Those poor things. Nor have we been able to confirm any birds or other wild animals either coming from or going into the mist. Curses. Then it has become a completely barren wasteland. A barbaric land of darkness that does not suffer even a single watt to pass.
We next tried to fight magecraft with magecraft by bringing in our own mages. They sent in familiars protected by magical barriers, cyber demons, automata, and more. Unfortunately, despite the local staff's best efforts, those ended in failure too. But as of last night, we finally received word that a single attempt was successful, returning with valuable new information.
Could you not have just led with that and spared us all the extra nonsense? I mean, what do the US Army's troubles really matter to us? How dare you! Have you no respect for their sense of duty? Look, my schedule is completely shot thanks to having to write a manuscript on such short notice. Just look at these bags under my eyes. I'm like 12 years old with 30 years of baggage. Now, my friend, I understand how you feel, but let's not make molehills into mountains. The important thing is that our work is now done. Our duty has passed like a ship in the night.
You there, leave that alone. We need it for dealing with the mist properties and to prepare for future countermeasures. It's especially important that you understand this part, Gouda.
Why were you two writing a manuscript? You know what? Yeah, why were you two writing a manuscript?
Oh, that? We poor, feeble authors. We were beset by a storm last night, but I believe your attention would be better spent on the matter at hand. Aw, come on.
The only thing that made it back was a single mechanical doll. It was originally designed to be a clock before a puppet master mage, disguised as a clockmaster, repurposed it. It was made out of oak gears, cast iron nails, and baleen. A robot created without any modern technology whatsoever. This medieval robot managed to bring back sketches of what things are like inside of the mist by automatically transcribing what it saw with its crystal pupils. Take a look at these.
Take a look at this.
Okay. Alright. Uh-huh. Yeah, that was a coast, a town hall, and a church. Concept art, yes, exactly.
I see. I see. Yes, this is definitely Salem. A peaceful, run-of-the-mill village whose pious residents live their lives with integrity. However, this is not modern-day Salem. Those sketches clearly show it how it looked centuries ago.
Right, we cross-referenced them with our records and found out that they were identical to Salem in the late 17th century. Basically, the world within the darkness is 17th century Salem as it was in colonial times.
I see. So that would mean it's still British territory then. No wonder the US Army was so completely useless.
Be quiet! This cowardly invasion cannot stand! What about the 50,000 people who live there now? Remember, this is not the first time this land has been invaded.
Shut him the fuck up.
As we have established, the recorded observations are of Salem in the 17th century. The only way the robot could make such observations is if the past has been faithfully recreated, or if some manner of magecraft is displacing the area itself. It's fascinating to ponder, but the effect that this could have on humanity is immeasurable. This is almost certainly the work of a demon god pillar still plotting to incinerate humanity. A demon god pillar? That reminds me. Geronimo, earlier, you said that the name Salem is cursed. What do you mean by that?
That's all in the past now. It belongs to history. Do you mind if I tell this story, Mr. Edison? By all means. Though we may wish it weren't so, this remains a part of our nation's history. Very well then. The town of Salem and its neighboring lands were home to 3 tragedies. The first was plague. When the white man came to our shores, he brought with him an epidemic that nearly wiped out the Massachusetts tribe living in Boston Harbor. The second was war, albeit this war was more of a massacre. The Wampanoag tribe that managed to survive the plague put up a valiant fight. But in the end, their chief's skull still became an ornament for the white man's village. Never mind that the white man only survived the cruel winter thanks to the resources the Wampanoag left behind.
That's why we celebrate Thanksgiving.
In a stroke of truly bitter irony, the state would go on to be named after the Massachusetts tribe, and these events would be celebrated as a national holiday.
Happy Thanksgiving, chat.
Finally, the third tragedy that took place in Salem was the witch trials. This time, the white man went around killing his own kind. Fearing the devil's influence, they hung many innocent people. I trust you now see why I call it a cursed land.
I do.
Wait, trials? I thought the term was witch hunt.
No, he speaks the truth. 'Twas witch trials that took place there. That said, these were but a farce of the court as we know it today. There they were not but a pretense for the villagers to indulge their worst impulses. These were trials in name alone, no more than an excuse for the church to exercise its power. The weak and unwanted were stoned to death. Even the densest of fools could see these trials for what they were. By the time matters had progressed to barbaric witch hunts, the wickedness and corruption had spread so far and taken such deep root that money changed hands unencumbered by virtue or concern for justice. Fire burn and cauldron bubble. They are merely characters who only ever appeared in works of fiction. I may have made use of them myself in my stories, but I have never once encountered the genuine article.
We've got a couple of, witches in our employ. Of course Shakespeare quotes himself. Macbeth? Yep, that's from Macbeth.
Furthermore, those who claim these fictional beings are real in order to serve their own selfish ends are simply in denial of that delusion. In mine own time as well, people sensed the truth through skin and scent. Even if they did rarely put pen to paper to express what they truly thought. That there is indeed a collective unconscious that fears witches and their curses. Now that some time has passed since then, I wonder what things are like in the modern day.
I believe that is less relevant than one might think. I have no interest in determining where in history late 17th century Salem should fall. Nevertheless, it is abundantly clear that piety was not the one thing that Puritans brought into the New World. Those who loathe sin, who would judge sinners by their own hands, are inevitably the sort who wish to engage in sin themselves. Such people will always exist, no matter the day and age. It's a fundamental aspect of the criminal mind. So, what then is a witch? A criminal? A victim? The answer to that question has changed as people's beliefs have shifted over time. As one who understands the mysterious and the mystic and rejects the guidance of an unknowable god, I would say the witch trials were exactly what their name suggests, a lawful process used to pass judgment on so-called witches. An attempt to manage the frenzied panic of a witch hunt in a stylish and civilized manner. Of course, offering madness a seat at the dinner table after it comes barging in unannounced does nothing to change its inherent nature. And thus, the persecution of witches continued unabated in the West until it culminated in its final chapter in the New World. Ironically, in Salem, a land steeped in pious faith. It was there where the devil truly ran free, where reason and desire, scientific spirit and occult mindsets came together.
Enough already. Put the violin away. What possible use could it be here? If you just want to hear yourself talk, then go to your room where you won't bother anyone.
I like that Anderson's results is, "Oh, boo-hoo, let me play a sad song on the world's smallest violin for you." Oh my, was that a bit long-winded? And here I thought I was being considerate by drawing the listener in with generous amounts of exposition. Ahem. I think that's enough witch trial talk for now. For my part, over the last few days, I've been investigating whether there might have been any changes in past events. I've been checking the repaired foundations over and over for signs of instability, and I haven't overlooked anything, and yet something is still going on. There's something about this singularity that's unlike any we've seen so far. Some small distortion that threatens the very rules of our world. The data is indeed accurate, and this case is undeniably clear for all to see. Which would mean the culprit is closer to a god than a human. A demon god, to be precise. It is certainly no surprise that a demon god pillar would act veiled in secrecy, but even mysterious acts like this are bound by incontrovertible rules. However, these rules cannot be tested from the outside.
To do so, one must venture inwards, to get, as they say, up close and personal. Holmes is right. If we can't get information that makes sense from the outside, then we have to investigate from the inside. Master Gouda, as Caldia's acting director, I am formally requesting that you be the one to enter the mist. I want you to investigate whatever is inside, rescue as many people as you can, find the demon god pillar, and destroy it.
Yes, ma'am.
I got it.
All right, you're up, Mash. Right. The mist-bounded field. We've conducted a number of tests in our analysis of the one automata that successfully returned, and learned that the mist eliminated anything made with post-17th century technology. And that's why the cutting-edge drones that were sent in ceased to function.
What's inside the mist?
Well, as the acting commander said earlier, there do appear to be humans inside. What's more, we believe that they're leading normal lives despite their confinement.
Normal lives? Then the people who live there are all right. But wait a minute. Wouldn't they be panicked out of their minds? I know I would.
I'm afraid that Unfortunately, we just don't know whether those people are safe. We haven't gathered enough information yet. As you saw from the sketches, the area inside of the mist has changed completely. It appears to be recreating Salem and the way its people lived their lives in the late 17th century. Whatever the reason for that may be, that's where we need to begin.
How did you learn all that from an automata alone?
This was information we got from the near-future observation lens, Sheba. Incredibly detailed information, too. Especially given that it was observing something in present-day space-time. Usually, Sheba isn't of much help at all, so the whole staff was puzzled by why we were able to use it here. I'm sure that there's a good explanation for it, but since we don't have the time to figure it out right now, I'm just going to chalk it up to an unexpected stroke of good luck.
Indeed. Truly, this is an act of providence. God has clearly seen fit to bless us in this dire time. Now, we should hurry and find a way through that field, whatever it takes.
I agree. Which is why Holmes and I put our heads together and came up with a possible strategy. A ray shift that results in the same era. This way, we can send you straight to the heart of Salem without moving you across time. However, there are two major conditions involved with this plan that I need you to understand, Gouda. As I explained earlier, we get one round-trip ray shift, period. What's more, the number of people we can shift is severely limited. The Association has already forced us to shut down the reactor in Caldia's basement, so we only have enough remaining magical energy for one last large-scale round trip.
But there are exceptions to every rule, eh? Just goes to show you can't cross a bridge until you come to it.
We're not operating independently anymore. We can't afford to be optimistic or even pessimistic. As for the second condition, you'll need to dress for the occasion so that you don't stand out in late 17th century Salem. Think of it as officially sanctioned cosplay. It may sound silly, but we do believe it will be essential to letting you move around in Salem unimpeded.
Sounds great to me. I'll go first, then. You can't. Why not?
Bill, tell them.
Indeed. Once we've learned all this, Lady Da Vinci asked us to come up with a scenario for infiltrating the area. I nearly fainted when I first thought she was asking for me to sneak in, so you can imagine my relief to know this is not the case.
You do know you don't have to share every thought that comes into that swollen head of yours, don't you? After all, we servants are but a band of fools and eccentrics. As such, we are well suited to being actors. Thus, in this scenario, you will visit Salem as part of a traveling group of performers. A troupe, if you will. What a joke. The great William Shakespeare reduced to writing a script for a glorified circus act. I knew even before you put a quill to paper that, taking into account the inexperienced actors and the uptight audience, there was no way the script would be suitable. Now, Anderson. There's nothing more delightful in a story than a surprising and well-conceived twist. In this case, we hardly need world-class talent. Of course, they will need to be able to perform in some fashion, or the whole ploy will be for naught. But a troupe is, by definition, a place where those who are otherwise unable to earn a living drift together, which makes it perfect for camouflage.
Wait, hold up. You mean we're going to be performing?
Is there a problem with that? I think it's a pretty clever idea myself. As for which servants will actually be joining this troupe...
Alright, hold on. Shinjuku Assassin, because he can transform into anyone and act perfectly like them. Robin Hood, because he showed up earlier. And Charles Henry Sanson, because he showed up earlier. That being said, Sanson would probably fit perfectly fine. I mean, he's even dressed in proper garb, for the most part. And Robin Hood, well, he can just hide and stuff, cloak.
I've decided to choose them myself, taking Bill's opinion into account, of course.
Let me tell you, it was a terrible headache coming up with a scenario that fit these rank amateurs. Still, that's not to say it wasn't fulfilling. Go ahead and knock yourselves out with this manuscript. Just make sure you pay in full and up front.
So then, neither Shakespeare or Anderson will be joining this mission.
That should be nor, not or.
Grammar.
What about you, Geronimo? I'm sure Senpai would be greatly relieved to have you along.
I don't think he could. The Native Americans and the people of the time didn't exactly high-five each other at the sight of each other. Unless high-fiving was using guns and or arrows.
I am sorry, Mash, but I can't do that either. I wasn't cast in this operation either. No doubt they thought my inclusion would lead to unforeseen difficulties, even as a member of a troupe. I would like nothing more than to help, but not if it means putting my friend in danger.
I don't think it matters. It does matter, Crusher Mock. That was a negative inclusion. So it is nor. You need the negative form of or. That's proper grammar, Crusher Mock. Jeez.
Oh, I see.
I mean, it makes sense that Geronimo couldn't come. As much as it would be great to bring him to a time period that he would know the area a bit better and be able to use his skills, considering we're trying for a subterfuge mission into a heavily Christian white town, a Native America ain't exactly the smartest thing to try and hide.
On the flip side of that, what's gotten into you, Medea? You loathed this idea from the moment you heard it. You said you'd refuse even if we used a command spell. Does the fact that you've been standing around without making a peep mean you still haven't made a decision? Well, I suppose I'm still thinking about it. You want to send Medea into Salem? Are you serious?
Send an actual witch.
Even if she is just going to pretend to be a troop member, that's far too dangerous. After all, Medea really is a...
Exactly. Regardless of Medea's extenuating circumstances, sending a real witch to a place famous for witch hunts is the height of folly. Ugh, boring, dull, dim-witted. I should have expected no better response from a lion.
Quite. There's not a hint of humor nor adventure to be found in it.
Indeed, couldn't have said it better myself. Ha! Go ahead and laugh if you want. I'm used to being ridiculed by selfish so-called geniuses. But this is neither the time nor the place to be discussing humor or fashion or patents. There are American citizens who have been swallowed up by this darkness. Their very lives are at stake. If you want to be funny, then save it for the movies.
I understand you're very patriotic, Edison, but I'm afraid that things aren't just that simple. This may be the modern day, but we're dealing with a world from the past in a town of witch hunts where external support just isn't an option. Common sense alone won't get us through this. We need a specialist's expertise. That's why we're counting on Medea to serve in an advisory role. If a demon god is behind this, then it's going to be an extremely difficult mission. And there's no one better suited to find the line between superstition and magecraft than her. Of course, we really didn't expect this request to upset her like this. But if she changed her mind after sleeping on it, then all's well that ends well. But... settle down. There's no problems here. No, wait. Please, let me try that again. There's no need to make a fuss over things that haven't come to pass, Smash. I swear by Hecate that I won't let any harm befall Master.
What's this? Are you feeling a bit off today or something?
I was just in a bad mood last night. Anyway, it's up to Master to make the final call. Am I wrong, little writer?
I'm getting chills. There's something seriously wrong with her.
What about you, Mash? Are you coming along too?
I can't. I was never part of the cast to begin with, so... Anyway, now that you're all caught up, I'm going to go ahead and begin the race shift preparations. In the meantime, Gouda, I want you to brief everyone we chose to accompany you. Remember, we don't have a lot of time before you need to leave. I especially want you to keep in mind that this is our one and only chance to race shift. Oh.
Hey, Mash. What you reading?
Oh, this? It's the file for this mission. Did you already finish your briefing? Me? Don't worry, I'm fine. I've been working pretty hard these last few days, but I'm feeling better now that I've had a bit of a break. Compared to what you and everyone else who's about to head to Salem must be going through... I'm sorry. You're right. Looking back now, I have been a bit discouraged. It goes without saying at this point, but I'm not a combatant anymore. I'm Da Vinci's assistant and a summoning circle engineer. Having an ordinary Chaldea staff member like myself go to somewhere like Salem, it would only put me and everyone else into danger. I just wish that there was some way I could be useful. Useful. Useful? Wait, that's it!
Ash?
I'm sorry, Senpai. I just remembered something urgent I have to do. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to prepare right away. See you later.
That's impressive Kohai power.
Okay, it looks like everyone's all set. We'll be sending a party of 6 into Salem, including Gouda. Once again, do not let your guard down after making your way past the bounded field. Make sure not to say or do anything that would give away the fact that you aren't originally from the 17th century. Alright, initiating ray shift sequence. Wait! Please, take me with you to Salem. Well now, that's a pretty last-minute request, but I'm afraid we've already filled all the roles we need. There aren't any other... Yes, there is. I've heard that troops like these have a prompter who works behind the scenes to feed the performers their lines. In that case, I believe that Senpai will need a dependable Kohai to be his secretary. Don't worry about the scripts. I've already learned all of them by heart. I dare say you won't find a better prompter than me on such short notice anywhere, so once again I request to accompany the rest of the troupe. Of course, I'm certain that I can be useful as an on-site Caldia staff member as well.
Seconded.
You memorized our entire script. Well, I'm impressed. I certainly can't argue with that. What do you think, Mr. Showbiz? Does your script need a bit of support? My script is nothing less than perfection itself. However, even a perfect script means little without actors to bring it to life. A prompter to feed the performers on stage their lines, you say? Such a role could well be crucial to ensuring the success of a performance put on by an amateur cast. Above all, I cannot help but commend her for memorizing the entire script. As such, I am more than happy to support Mash's request. Besides, if the troupe cannot perform convincingly, they're certain to come under suspicion. To be honest, I think this would be a great help.
And what do you think, Geronimo?
I'm afraid I cannot concur. Having a young girl accompany a troupe of performers is bound to invite misunderstandings. It would be dangerous, even without the threat of combat. But I will say that Mash seems to have taken all of that into consideration. In which case, I believe this is Master's decision to make.
What if we say she's the troop leader's little sister?
Little? If anything, I believe Mash would be more convincing as your older sister. I'll warn you now, Gouda. Such a pretense would only invite further suspicion.
Me playing as Senpai's One-chan. I can see that you're set on this, and the other party members don't appear to have any objections. If Gouda's okay with it, then I have no real basis to refuse Mash's request. But let me give you this warning. Integrity will not keep you safe in a world of abnormalities. Sometimes you'll need to be a straight-up sophist, or to look the other way. At times like that, you'll need to weigh your own principles against the mission's success. Understood. I'll keep that in mind.
I am counting on you, Gouda. Good luck! To Salem!
Alright then. In that case, I hereby issue the Remnant Order's final command. Master Gouda will arrive at the Salem Singularity at the current time. Make sure you make full use of all of your experience to date, and see to it that you come back safely from this especially exceptional mission.
I mean, to be fair, Mash does have the body to be an Ara Ara One-chan.
Excellent. Everything looks good with the ray shift. Okay, let's get back to our monitoring duties. All servants remain on standby until further notice.
Do you believe it was a good idea to let her go along? I knew that Mash would want to go. You were the one who was most against this, Da Vinci.
I've nearly been accused of being a witch myself. Oh, not in the broom-flying, wand-wielding, people-cursing sense, so much as being thought of as a heretic. Somebody claimed that the autopsies I did for research were evil rituals. I'm sorry to say that back then I didn't handle it very bravely. Instead of standing up for what I believed in, I found myself at a loss for words. I turned my back on the truth and had to lie about who I really was. Over time, that kind of pressure starts to eat away at you. It's like poison more than anything else. I just thought that Mash was a little young to go through that kind of torture.
Don't be silly. Those two have all seen nearly every side of humanity by now. The ugliness of the witch trials should put a nice bow on the whole thing. Besides, the very notion of sending a troupe of performers into a Puritan village was utter lunacy from its genesis. Indeed! Fighting fire with fire, as they say.
Huh? Where are Gouda and the others? Did they already leave?
Huh? What are you still doing here?
What's going on? Was there a problem with the ray shift?
Oh ho! We seem to have gotten our twist rather early in the story. How delightful! How is this delightful? This is terrible! Is there no way we can contact them?
I've been knocked out this whole time. That wasn't me who went along. That was someone pretending to be me, using magic as a disguise.
Well, I know who it is, but again, it could have easily been Shinjuku Assassin.
So, we are dealing with someone capable of outwitting a witch. This is bad.
If you're here, then who's the Medea who went to Salem?
Dun dun dun!
Pseudo Singularity 4, Humanity Foundation Value, ? 1692 AD, the Forbidden Advent Garden, Salem. Heretical Salem. And that's our prologue.